Welcome to the WVU Men's Basketball Sports Chat on the dpost.com. I'm Todd Murray, along with Justin Jackson, our WVU Men's Basketball beat writer. Justin, the Mountaineers coming off a game that was just downright painful to watch. 56-49 loss to Texas. The shooting was beyond bad. Any explanation for what happened?
You know, I kind of think that it's a combination of things, and Coach Huggins said after the game that it was really more of a mental block than anything else. That it wasn't it wasn't that they weren't physically ready to play. It wasn't that they were tired. It was just that they weren't mentally into the game. I think there's a lot of truth to that. They had come off a pretty hectic week where they beat number 1 Kansas, and then they lost at the buzzer basically to number 2 Oklahoma. And so, you know, you kind of go through those ups and downs of those 2 games, and then you come into that Texas game, and you know, maybe you're kind of mentally drained a little bit, and maybe you think that you know, they had shot up to number 6 in the national rankings, and Texas was unranked, and so, you know, maybe they kind of thought you know, they could just kind of roll out there and beat Texas, and obviously that wasn't the case, and that's really not the case against anyone in the Big 12 this season. So I think there were so many factors like that all kind of went into it, and they just simply weren't ready against Texas at all.
And if that doesn't change Saturday, they could be in a heap of trouble in Lubbock against Texas Tech. That's a tough place to play, and Tubby Smith has won a national title before. The man knows what he's doing. I mean, it seemed like if they go in there with the same kind of attitude, you know, they're going to be on a 3-game losing streak.
WVU is 3-0 at Texas Tech. None of the 3 games have been easy. I mean, they've all been struggles, especially to shoot the ball. Texas Tech is very good defensively, and you know, Tubby's been there for a couple of years. He's really kind of got his guys in there. Devontae Williams is a fine player, and you know, they have a little bit of size, and they can match up a lot better than they have been able to in the past. So Texas Tech is much improved. They're 1-2 at home this year, so I mean, this is a game you can go in and win, and it would be a very important game for the Mountaineers. It would kind of keep them in the swing of things in the Big 12. I mean, even after the loss to Texas, they are still in second place, 4-way tie in second place. It's a wide open Big 12 as far as the league standings go. So this game against Texas Tech would certainly keep them near the top of the Big 12 standings, which is where they want to be.
Right. You know, with foul shooting, obviously such a huge part of the game, and WVU has struggled there. I know players and coaches usually say, you know, just get in the gym and keep shooting them. Is that what they need to do right now?
You know, they talk about before at the end of every practice, players have to make 100 free throws before they're allowed to, you know, go off and, you know, kind of do whatever they do after practice. Talking to some of the players about it, it's a lot easier to sit there in the gym and keep working, and sure, you can kind of build some muscle memory and repetition and get a feel for how free throws are supposed to be shot. But then, you know, once you get into a game and there's, you know, 9,000-10,000 people are yelling and screaming, and the band is playing, and, you know, talking to Elijah Macon about it, he says it's 100% different to shoot a free throw in a game as opposed to shooting them after practice when there's no one in the gym. And, you know, I mean, there's probably a lot of truth to that. Now, I mean, you know, does that explain why they missed 15 free throws against Texas? Probably not. You know, they didn't shoot free throws very well against Oklahoma either, and they lost that game by 2 points. So, you know, free throws have to get better, and, you know, it's hard to say what the answer to that is. I mean, you know, practice really is about the only way you're going to get better at something like that.
Right. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't touch on at least one topic that I don't think is ever going to die around this state. It's WVU Marshall Men's Basketball Series. E. Gordon D. Went on the radio the other day and suggested let's continue the series, but only in Morgantown, which I'm guessing that didn't go over real well in Huntington with the Marshall fans. How do you think this thing is ultimately going to play out?
The series itself is one, from a personal standpoint, I've always liked watching the West Virginia Marshall series. I was never a big fan of going to Charleston to watch it. I would much, on a personal note, I would much rather have the game rotate to Huntington one year and rotate to Morgantown one year. I don't think that's ever going to happen either, because I don't think West Virginia would want to give up a gate, every other year in Huntington. He also said that he would be in favor of maybe kind of rotating the game throughout the state, as long as the majority of the games are played in Morgantown. Personally, I don't think, from talking to people from Marshall, in the past, I don't think that's something that they would ever agree to. If the game can't be a home and home rotated each year between Huntington and Morgantown, they would want the game to stay in Charleston, and according to WVU officials, that's just not going to happen in the foreseeable future.
Hopefully that will somehow work itself out.
Yeah.
We'd all hate to see that series go. But Justin, thank you for your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Enjoy your trip to Lubbock, and we will talk to you next week. Thank you for watching the WVU Men's Basketball Sports Chat, and continue to follow our coverage on thedpost.com.